Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and today I want to show you a couple really old and impressive fruit trees, which for a very good reason are not very well known as fruit trees. I'm talking about the European yew, Taxus baccata. I'm here in my city of Heidelberg in the Kurpfälzisches Museum, which is basically like the city's history museum. It's in an old palace of a French marquis who used to live here and then later donated his palace to the city. It's not the same as the Heidelberg Castle. He also did a lot for preserving the Heidelberg Castle. Since then the Heidelberg people say the French, they destroyed our castle and then they saved it. Well, but anyways, this was the palace he built and now it's a museum. And the garden of the palace has a couple old and impressive trees. Let's first check out the other yew trees, which are not as big, and then at the end we'll go to the really big one. Yes, European parks have a lot of old and impressive yew trees, and many of those are not even so impressive from the outside. Often they are being pruned to small sizes, but when you look inside they have impressive stems, and often they have an impressive age. Here is one which is probably over 50 centimeters thick. Here we have a couple more ones. So the yew, of course, most people would know it because of Robin Hood's bow, or those famous English longbows. And no, those longbows could not go through armor like paper. They were a great, super powerful weapon, but a medieval knight with good armor would still have a very good chance of surviving a volley of yew longbow missiles. Here you see two other yew trees. The one in the middle is not a yew. Those are quite tall for yews, but not very thick. And here on the bottom we see a lot of seeds, which must be yew seeds because I don't see any tree around here with similar seeds. Those seeds are supposed to be about the most toxic parts of the yew. Here, by the way, a couple tiny yew seedlings. Every part of the yew, except for the pink carillus, which is not in season now, is poisonous. The wood is poisonous, the bark is poisonous, the needles are poisonous, and the seed is very poisonous. Actually, it's so poisonous that Roman historians say that when Caesar conquered Gaul, so many Gaulish kings and chieftains and even normal people, they didn't want to become slaves. So their preferred way of killing themselves instead of becoming Roman slaves was to eat a couple yew seeds, not even a handful, but like a dozen seemed to be enough to kill a person. So never eat yew seeds or any other part of the yew. Well, let's see what more we have here. Here is a nice impressive multi-stemmed yew. As you can see, recently some work has been done on them. So I can show you the fabled yew timber from the inside. However, this is still just a sap wood. For a longbow, actually you cannot just take a thin branch and make a bow out of it. You need to have sap wood and hardwood in there, and the hardwood is bright red and oozes a bright red sap. So this is just a sap wood, but yeah, funny that the hardwood is oozing. Here we have another nice multi-stemmed yew. Oh, wait, this is a yew which looks very unusual. For one moment I thought it could be something else, but no, it's a yew. It's a yew with a very strange bark and also a bit of strange needles. Over there a young yew has been planted in the background, and now we are slowly coming to the star of today. Here is a young pyramid yew, which is just a variety. They grow more like a pyramid. And here, near the new part of the museum, like the old part is in the old palace, while the new part is in a modern building. Here we have the bigger one, which I suppose is much older than the others, or maybe it always grew alone while the others grew in a group, and that's why it got so big. But look at that. I know it's not as impressive as those ancient trees you find sometimes in British or French cemeteries. Also, the age of those yews around here is a bit disputed. My friend Alfred, who is the tree, what would you call it in English? The tree protection deputy of the city of Heidelberg. That would be the literal translation of his title, and who has been the tree protection deputy for over a quarter of a century now, told me that there are a couple trees which are around 80 years old in Heidelberg, and the oldest around here could be around 120. When I look at this, it could even be considerably older, especially since it's growing in the yard of a palace which is older than 120 years. I don't know if it's 1 meter thick, probably not, probably it's more like 80 centimeters thick. Old yew trees are usually quite short, so this one is taller than a lot of those super old yews in Britain or France. Often the tips of those trees break, and often their wood is incredibly hard and tough, but still it seems it cannot stand the weight of the tree. So often actually the trunk is being squeezed, and they're like horizontal, like basically like fat rolls on old trees. Not on this one yet. We are talking about trees who are probably over 1,000 years old. This is still probably not well over 100. Could be 100, 150 years, and is still quite tall. About the longbows, well, you remember how the British longbows were such an important super weapon, and actually, apart from those couple trees in old churchyards and graveyards, Britain basically more or less ran out of them. So for centuries they were importing trees from Europe. Over the centuries they imported probably around 1 million, they actually, tax records, they imported around 1 million rough longbow pieces, which they would process then in Britain. It was like the British know-how they didn't like to share, but still they had to get the raw materials from Europe. Actually, for centuries, if you wanted to import anything to Britain, for every ton you had to supply also a couple unprocessed longbow shafts. Actually, some people say the transition from longbows to crossbows and guns was not so much because crossbows and guns were more effective, but firstly because all of Europe ran out of big yew forests. Actually, only in the Baltics and in Russia did we have good yew forests by the 16th, 17th century, when the British longbows got out of fashion. You could make a crossbow from a lot more different woods, and you could make a gun from metal and also more common woods. Well, also you had to train for decades for a longbow, while you could train just a couple days or weeks and master a crossbow or a gun. But yeah, basically Britain depleted the European yew forests, especially the big trees you needed to get those shafts made, half of hardwood, half of sapwood. And yeah, actually I don't think that this destroyed the populations. This just destroyed the old impressive trees throughout Europe. Also, in the Middle Ages, destroying a yew tree was a very punishable offense, because imagine the yew trees were like the gold mine and also the weapons factory of the local lord. Imagine if a peasant comes and chops down a yew tree for some reason. Probably the tree was more valuable than the peasant himself. But then in the 19th century, when oxen in the forest were largely replaced by horses, the yew trees, especially in Germany and also in other parts, got destroyed because, well, cows seem to be able to eat yew leaves without much damage. Horses will die when eating them. And as soon as a lot of horses were used in the forest and the yew tree was not needed for anything anymore, yeah, the foresters started to chop them down just to save their valuable horses. Nowadays, mostly trucks and bulldozers are used in the forest, so the forestry people, they are kind of neutral against the yew trees. They see it as a nice traditional thing, but it does not have many uses. The timber is usually not being marketed, so they don't care too much about it. Yeah. Now about the edibility. Well, right now they are not in season, but I still decided to make the video because of this nice tree. Yews are a conifer, so they don't have real fruits or berries, but there is a pink structure which is kind of shaped like a cup, and inside this cup is the seed which looks out of the cup, and this pink cup is edible, and I have eaten it a lot of times. However, of course, it's always a Russian roulette. If you chew on too many seeds while eating them, you might die. If you swallow too many seeds, even if you don't chew them, you still might die. If somebody sees you and start eating those things with the seeds, they will also die. If somebody chews on the leaves of the yew, they will also die. So it's, yeah, one of the most dangerous fruit trees in the world, I would say. There are other edible species in the family Taxaceae, like the plum yew or the nut yew, which are from different genera. But this is by far the most common one here in Germany. Beautiful old trees. I always like it when I see an old yew tree, and this is one of the most impressive ones I've seen here around in Germany. Please tell me, folks, do you have impressive yew trees in your area? Have you ever eaten yew fruits? Don't eat yew fruits just because I said in a video that they are edible. They are not even actual fruits. They are more something like a cone. I might be demonetized for recommending you to eat poisonous things. Happened to me already a couple times. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful and incredibly fruit-rich city of Heidelberg. And if you want to receive more such content, YouTube kind of doesn't recommend my videos anymore, even to subscribers. I wonder why. So you should better press the little bell icon to be notified of any new uploads.